right, let's move on to the third video on function transformations. Just like before, I'm giving you a function. It's right here. So we're going to do x squared. So we're going to square all of our values. And you can see we get this U shape. We're going to learn later in the year what that's actually called and what kind of functions these are. But right now we're just going to square any value that we have. So I've already done the points for you and the graph, but let's go ahead and fill in our table. So basically I'm just saying take -3 and square it, and that becomes +9. -2 squared is 4. -1 squared is just 1. 0 squared is still 0. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. And 3 squared is 9. And you can see, just like the absolute value, we don't have any negative y values because when you square something, it always becomes positive. All right, so let's take a look at this one. So fill in the table below with x and the opposite or negative f of x. So basically what we're saying is take all of these values from above and we're going to just make them the opposite sign that we see. So before -3 squared was 9, so now it's going to be -9. So we're just going to multiply like a -1 to it. So 4 would become -4, 1 would become -1, 0 is still 0, 1 becomes -1, 4 becomes -4, and 9 becomes -9. And then just like before, we're going to plot those with squares. So if I go out here, 1, 2, 3 to -3, and I'm going to put a square right there at -9. -2, 1, 2 goes down to -4 right there. And at -1, I go to 1. At 0, I'm still at 0, so I'm just going to put a square on top of that point. Let's see, 1, I go to -1, and 2, we go to -4, and 3, we go to -9. And then if I put, I'm going to try to draw on this curve. Oh, that side wasn't bad. All right, there we go. So it's going to look a lot like that. Exactly like that. So a rule for a negative, putting a negative in front of your function, is when finding the opposite of f of x, the graph of f of x reflects, you can see that's a reflection of the original function, and it's reflecting over the x-axis. So the x-axis is right here, and we can see that it's reflected, it's almost folded in half right over that axis. And that will happen every time we multiply by -1 or make our function negative, the opposite of what it was before. All right, let's look at this next one we're going to do. So this time we're going to multiply our f of x's by 2. So we're going to take all of those original values and we're going to multiply them by 2. So our first one's going to be 18. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8. -1 is going to be 2. Or sorry, 1 is going to be 2. 0 stays 0. And then we get 2, 8, and 18 again. So remember, I'm using these original f of x's, and I'm multiplying them all by 2. All right, now I'm going to graph them, this time with triangles again. So at -3, I can't graph 18. So that'll happen sometimes when you do a transformation. It just won't fit on your graph. You just skip that one. All right, -2 is now at 8. So I'm going to go all the way up to 8, and I'm going to draw in a little triangle there. -1, I'm going to go up to 2, and I can put a triangle right here. And at 0, it stays 0, so just put my triangle right on top. And at 1, I've got 2. At 2, I go up to 8 again, so it's right there. And at 3, 18, so once again, I can't quite get that. So watch what happens here is really my graph just gets skinnier. is what it looks like. But what's really going on here is that 2 has sped up the speed as to which that rises. So really, here's another way of thinking of it. If you've ever seen taffy being pulled, that's actually what's happening here, is that we're pulling it up. It's stretching, just like taffy. All right, so the rule for multiplying anything to a function is that the graph of the function, and this is a vertical stretch. This is what we call a vertical, I'm going to say vertically stretches. Don't quite like that. Okay, let's try that again. Vertically stretches. All right, now it could also shrink, but it's technically just a stretch. And we're going to look at a shrink here in just a moment with our examples below. All right, so we learned 2 new rules in this video. Once we get to the examples, I think you'll understand what's going on, hopefully a little bit better. So I'll give you just a moment. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't panic yet. No panic questions. Wait till you see the examples. I think that'll help you guys out in just a moment. We're just going through the rules at this point.